Okay, just a few housekeeping things to get out of the way before we begin. First off, Siegeside Chat is a bit of a passion project of mine, so I would really appreciate your feedback on how this is going and how to make it better. Even back when I first started the channel, I didn't want it to be strictly about gaming. I have a passion for people, especially people who suffer from anxiety and depression just like me. Secondly, please keep in mind with this upcoming topic, I am 22 years old. I am not married or dating, nor do I have any kids, own my own house or apartment, and currently don't have anybody depending on me for my well-being, nor am I a medical professional. That being said, no matter what your walk of life is, I hope that the advice given in this video will at least get you thinking about the topic that we're going to cover today, and that you'll be able to make a change for the better. Alright, on our way. Welcome everyone to the first ever Siegeside Chat, a show where I discuss a very real issue over a casual game of Rainbow Six Siege. For this first ever episode, I wanted to cover something very near and dear to my heart, the link between anxiety and your career. While these two topics are not necessarily connected inherently, they do cross over far more than you might think. I will go over some research that I've done, my own experience, and then just a few pieces of advice that I've collected over my few years on the American workforce. I've been interested in this topic for some time now, and after doing some research a few weeks ago, I stumbled upon a survey taken by the Anxiety and Depression Association of America, or ADAA, in 2006, asking working class men and women how anxiety relates to their workplace. Here are just a few key things to take away from that study. 72% of people who have daily stress and anxiety says it interferes with their lives at least moderately. 40% experience persistent stress or excessive anxiety in their daily lives. 30% with daily stress have taken prescription medication to manage stress, nervousness, and emotional problems or lack of sleep. 28% have had an anxiety or panic attack, and only 9% have been diagnosed with any sort of anxiety disorder. Also, over 75% of those surveys says that the stress from their job bleeds into their personal lives with their kids, their parents, or significant others and friends. Those numbers are so concerning to me personally, not only because this shows how stressful a workplace can be, but how stuck people feel once they are put into a stressful job. According to the study, 31% turned to more caffeine to cope with stress, 27% to cigarettes, and 20% turned to more alcohol than they consumed before their current job. Thankfully, though, 25% said that they turned to exercise, which is an excellent way to deal with stress, and that's higher than I expected. I think that the saddest part of all is that less than half, 40% to be exact, have actually spoke to their superiors about the stress of their workplace. Here are some of the reasons why anxiety is never brought up to management. Fear that their boss would interpret as a lack of interest or unwilling to work. Fear of being labeled as weak. Fear it would affect promotion opportunities. Fear it would go in their file. And fear of being laughed at or not taken seriously. I think it's also fair to note that about 14% of people said that they just didn't think it was relevant to their job. These numbers are staggering to say the least and say so much about our current working culture. And it wasn't just kids that were surveyed, it's also middle-aged business people who have that nicer paycheck than your local Walmart cashier, but still deal with sometimes crippling anxiety on a daily basis. I can speak to this personally. Over the last year, I've had one of the worst years of my life in regards to my career. I have now had 3 jobs in 12 months and left both of them due in the most part to stress. I began last year as a department manager at the local Walmart, but quickly found out I was not well suited for management. A lot of the people in my department were my friends, and the discipline that they wanted me to hold them to was not even a discipline I would hold up to my future children. I was unwilling to treat them like this, and that created tension with management. I left the position last November to try an office job, a big change from my 4 years in retail. Again, very quickly, I found out that I did not like the job, and yet I stayed for the next 8 months. The busier it got, the more I began to have anxiety attacks and break down at my desk. After that, the workload became over 100 phone calls per day, and I just knew I couldn't do it any longer. I took a job at a local factory that had some good pay and benefits, and honestly, so far, I love it. It took a lot of change to finally feel someplace at peace in the workplace, but I believe now that I have found it in a way. Lots of adults my age have similar stories. A bad manager, horrible work conditions, bullied by coworkers. I've heard so many of these, and the list only continues to grow. It's so sad to hear people speak about how when they get off of work, the stress and sadness just doesn't go away. The growing knot in their neck or chest doesn't leave, and they go to bed dreading the next morning. It's all too common in the 21st century workplace. That is why the advice that I'm going to give is more important than ever. While anxiety and depression are a very real condition that follows many people home regardless of their career, a bad fit in your work style can bring you down even more. I hope that in the end, these things that have worked for me and others will inspire you to do better in your life and your job. My first bit of advice here is, like the study said, 25% of people turn to exercise to deal with stresses in the workplace, and I think this is a brilliant idea. Working out, running, or however you decide to break a sweat not only tones your body, but releases dopamine, or the chemical in your body responsible for positive emotions. In my experience, it helps calm down any anger or frustration that I've kept pent up over the day. A gym membership is also great, but even just a walk outside helps. My second bit of advice here is a little harder if you have a family or you live on your own with a lot of expenses, but if you have the ability while you're young, experiment with your career. Chances are that you're not going to get it right the first time. I had 3 jobs before I landed a job that I actually stayed at, and even then I knew that that job wasn't a perfect fit. Be willing to try new things, and put your resume in for things you never saw yourself doing and see what happens. If you would have asked me a year ago, I would have told you that I never would have touched factory work, and now I love it. Experiment with yourself and how you work while you have time early on in life, and that will set you up for the right path in the future. And the last really big point I want to drive home today is express yourself. Whether it's grabbing some friends for beer and pool on the weekends, painting, writing, or even talking about life over your favorite video game, find a way to show off who you are. At the end of the day, no matter how much you love your job, you are a human being with thoughts and feelings and need an outlet to express those thoughts and feelings. No matter how busy you are, you deserve some time to just be yourself and show that off to others. Well, that's really all I have for today. I really hope you guys enjoyed this short chat, and I would love to hear from you about your job stories. I know that everybody has them. I hope someday to do a full deep dive into the connection between anxiety in the workplace someday, but that's for another time with more research and interviews that I'd like to do. So let me know what you guys thought of the video. If you guys would like some more discussions like this, let me know, and share it with a friend that might need the advice I laid out at the end here. I want to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time. It's not just kids in this study either, but middle-aged business people who have a nicer paycheck than your local cashier Walmart. What?